Welcome, weary travelers of the night, to another shadowed corner of the throne of nightmares. I am your host, the unseen guardian of forgotten tales, where the veil between the living and the damned grows thin. Tonight, we descend into a labyrinth of blood and bone, a story etched not in ink, but in the twisted sinews of human flesh. Imagine, if you will, a land where the mountains rise like the spines of buried giants, their peaks piercing the sky in eternal defiance. These are the Appalachians, a realm of mist-shrouded hollows and forgotten valleys, where the air hangs heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. Here, time doesn't march forward, it coils inward, looping back on itself like a serpent devouring its tail. Our tale begins not with a bang, but with a whisper, the faint cry of a child born under a blood moon, its skin pale and mottled, eyes gleaming with an unnatural hue. This is the legacy of America's most deformed families, chains of isolation forged across 7 generations. Picture them, clans hidden away in the folds of the earth, their bloodlines poisoned by seclusion, inbreeding, and secrets that fester like open wounds. They are the blue fugates of Kentucky, whose skin shimmered like twilight skies from a rare genetic curse, the Melungeons of Tennessee, shadows of mixed heritage, whispered to descend from lost Portuguese sailors or ancient Atlanteans, and deeper still, the fictional yet all too real hollow dwellers of my own conjuring families, like the Whittaker clan, whose deformities twist not just the body, but the soul. Feel the chill creep into your bones as I speak. The wind outside your window might pick up, carrying echoes of their lament. Why do we fear the deformed? Is it the mirror they hold up to our own fragility, or the reminder that beneath our polished exteriors we are all but clay, easily warped by fate's cruel hand? Tonight, we peel back the layers of this nightmare, layer by layer, until you question the very blood pulsing in your veins. Let me paint the scene for you. It's the late 1700s, and the American frontier is a wild, untamed beast. Settlers push westward, carving homes from the wilderness, but some are driven further, into the cracks where society dares not follow. Exiles, outcasts, those fleeing persecution or carrying burdens too heavy for civilized eyes. They vanish into the hills, building shanties from felled timber, their fires flickering like willow, the wisps in the night. Isolation breeds necessity. Necessity breeds intimacy within the family circle. Marriages between cousins, siblings even, become the norm, not out of desire but survival. And with each union the genetic lottery spins wildly, birthing children with elongated limbs, fused fingers, or skins that blister at the sun's touch. But this is no mere medical curiosity. Oh no, in the throne of nightmares we know better. These deformities are harbingers, curses woven into the fabric of their lineage. Whispers in the villages speak of pacts with dark entities, mountain spirits, perhaps, or the vengeful ghosts of native tribes displaced by these intruders. The land itself rebels, twisting the intruder's progeny as punishment. 7 generations, that's the biblical span, isn't it? From the first sin to the final reckoning. In our story, it begins with Elijah Whittaker, a Revolutionary War deserter who fled into the Virginia hills with his sister, wife, their union spawning a brood that would echo through time like a malediction. Close your eyes now, listener. Hear the creak of floorboards in an empty room, the distant wail that might be wind or a malformed infant. This is the hook that draws you in. What if your own family tree hides such branches? What if, in the quiet of night, you trace your ancestry back and find not heroes, but horrors? As we delve deeper, remember these families didn't just deform, they endured, their isolation a fortress against the world. But a prison for the soul. The mist thickens around us, shadows lengthen as the sun dips below the ridge. We step into the narrative, where the air grows colder and every rustle in the underbrush could be a watcher from the Whittaker line, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Their story is one of survival turned nightmare, where beauty withers and monstrosity blooms. But is monstrosity in the eye of the beholder, or etched into the very DNA? I can sense your pulse quickening. Good, that's the fear taking root. In these hills, fear is a companion, whispering truths you'd rather forget. The Whitakers, the Fugates, the lost souls of isolation, they call to us across the generations, their voices carried on the wind. Listen closely, for in their tale lies a warning. Isolation doesn't just deform the body, it warps the spirit, turning kin into strangers and strangers into legends of terror. As we proceed, let the atmosphere envelop you. The scent of pine resin mixed with something metallic, blood, perhaps. The taste of fog on your tongue, cool and foreboding. We are not mere observers, we are intruders in their domain, and they know we're here. The year is 1783. The Revolutionary War has ended, but for Elijah Whitaker the battles rage on in his mind. A gaunt man with hollow cheeks and eyes like chipped flint, he stumbles through the dense forests of what will one day be West Virginia. His boots, worn to rags, sink into the loamy soil, each step a defiance against the pursuing ghosts of his desertion. Beside him clings his sister, Abigail, her dress torn and muddied, her face a mask of quiet desperation. They are orphans of the conflict, cast out from their Pennsylvania farm after their parents hanging for treasonous sympathies. But the true sin, the forbidden love between siblings, whispered in haylofts under cover of night. They find refuge in a narrow valley, hemmed in by sheer cliffs that rise like the walls of a tomb. Here, the sun filters through only at midday, casting the hollow in perpetual twilight. Elijah fells trees with a stolen axe, their thuds echoing like heartbeats in the silence. Abigail gathers roots and berries, her hands blistering from the thorns. They build a cabin, crude and drafty, its chinks stuffed with moss that weeps moisture like tears. At night, they huddle by a fire that spits embers into the darkness, their bodies entwining not just for warmth, but for solace in a world that has forsaken them. Their first child arrives in a storm, the thunder masking Abigail's screams. Born with a clubfoot and skin as pale as moonlight, little Josiah whimpers weakly, his tiny fists clenched against the cold. Elijah sees it as a sign, the land's blessing, or perhaps its curse. They name him after a biblical king, hoping for strength, but the deformity marks the beginning. Isolation sets in like rot. No neighbors for miles. The nearest town a 2-day trek over treacherous paths. They hunt deer with snares, fish the murky streams, and plant corn in soil that yields stunted ears. Years pass in a blur of seasons. Josiah grows, his twisted leg forcing a loping gait that echoes through the woods like a predator's prowl. He learns to whittle crude tools, his fingers nimble despite the family's growing peculiarities. Abigail bears more children, twins, Mercy and Malachi, one with fused toes, the other with eyes of mismatched colors, one blue, one milky white. Whispers begin among them, tales of the mountain folk. From Elijah's stories, beings twisted by solitude. But these are no fairy tales, they are prophecies. By the second generation, the Whitaker bloodline thickens with secrets. Josiah, now a man of 20, takes a wife from within his cousin's sister, born of a fleeting union with a passing trapper who vanished into the mist. No, wait, isolation demands invention. In truth, the family turns inward fully. Mercy weds Malachi in a ceremony under the stars, their vows sealed with blood pricked from thorns. The cabin expands into a cluster of shacks, connected by muddy paths worn by deformed feet. Children emerge with elongated necks, protruding jaws, skins that flake like birch bark in winter. Enter the third generation, where the deformities bloom like nightshade. Young Ephraim, grandson of Elijah, is born with webbed fingers and a spine curved like a question mark. He becomes the family's storyteller, his voice a rasping whisper that carries tales of the old ones, spirits said to dwell in the cliffs, granting longevity but demanding tribute in flesh. The family hunts not just for food, but for offerings, a deer's heart left at a stone altar, a lock of hair buried under the full moon. Superstition weaves into their DNA, as real as the genetic mutations festering from inbreeding. The hollow deepens its grip. Vines choke the paths leading out, as if the land itself conspires to keep them. Outsiders, rare. A lost hunter once stumbled upon them, his eyes widening at the sight of children with bulbous heads and limbs akimbo. He fled, spreading rumors in the valleys below of demon spawn in the hills. The we-takers respond with traps, snares not for animals, but for intruders. Tension builds as whispers of raids echo. The family arms itself with rusted muskets and sharpened bones. In this isolation, love twists into something feral. Siblings share beds for warmth, boundaries blur in the long winters. Births become rituals, attended by the elders chanting in a tongue born of delirium. One child, Lydia, emerges with blue-tinged skin, her breath shallow, eyes reflecting the sky. She is the first, blue Whittaker, a nod to the real Fugates, whose methemoglobinemia painted them azure. But here, it's more a mark of the curse, making her both revered and feared. As the fourth generation dawns, the family numbers 24, a microcosm of horror. The air in the hollow smells of unwashed bodies and herbal poultices brewed to hide deformities. Ephraim's tales evolve into warnings. 7 generations we must endure, till the curse lifts or consumes us. Conflicts simmer, jealousies over the few fertile women, fights over meager harvests. One night, under a comet streak, Malachi kills his brother in a rage, his body buried at the altar. Blood soaks the earth, and the next child born has crimson birthmarks, as if stained by the sin. Listener, can you feel it? The walls closing in, the breath of the deformed brushing your neck. This is but the beginning, the narrative coils tighter still. The family's isolation breeds not just physical oddities, but mental ones. Whispers of madness, Ephraim sees visions in the mist, spectral figures of ancestors urging deeper seclusion. Children play games with bones, arranging them into sigils that glow faintly at dusk. The hollow becomes a living entity, its trees whispering secrets, roots entwining like veins. By the 5th generation, deformities peak. Children with hydrocephalus, heads swollen like overripe fruit, others with polydactyly, extra fingers grasping at shadows. The blue trait spreads, turning skin to shades of indigo, making them ghosts in their own home. Haunting events unfold. A child vanishes into the woods, only to return weeks later, feral and mute, his eyes glowing. Nights fill with cries not human, but something echoing from the cliffs. Tension mounts as the outside world encroaches. Railroad surveyors approach, their lanterns piercing the mist. The Whittakers watch from hiding, their deformed silhouettes blending with twisted trees. One surveyor is found dead, throat slit, body arranged in a ritual pose. Whispers of mountain monsters spread, fueling legends that persist to this day. In this part of our tale, we meet key figures: old Widow Mercy, now bent and blind, her prophecies guiding the clan; young Caleb, a blue boy with a gift for healing, his touch cooling fevers but leaving marks; and the antagonist within, Isaiah, a hulking figure with fused vertebrae, his rage a storm brewing. The shadows deepen, listener. As we venture into part 2, the Whittaker hollow transforms from sanctuary to sepulchre. The 5th generation teeters on madness's edge, their deformities no longer mere afflictions, but badges of a darker pact. Caleb, the blue healer, dreams of escape, his visions showing green valleys beyond the cliffs. But Isaiah, the brute with his spine locked in eternal bow, sees outsiders as threats to be crushed. Conflict ignites when a young woman, Eliza, pale, skinned with elongated limbs like a spider's, falls for a wandering preacher who stumbles into the hollow. The preacher, Reverend Harlan, brings tales of the wider world, cities of stone, machines that belch smoke, a nation expanding westward. His Bible thumps echo through the shacks, stirring unrest. Eliza, her heart aflutter, sneaks meetings by the stream, where moonlight dances on water like shattered glass. But Isaiah discovers them, his jealousy a inferno. In a frenzy, he drags Harlan to the altar, sacrificing him under the stars. Blood flows, and Eliza's screams pierce the night, blending with the howls of wolves, or are they kin? This act unleashes haunting events. Harlan's ghost lingers, a spectral figure in white robes, whispering condemnations from the mist. Children wake with marks on their skin, cruciform welts that burn at touch. The blues, like Caleb, feel it most, their skin deepening to navy, veins pulsing like rivers of ink. Madness spreads. Widow Mercy raves of the 7th seal breaking, her blind eyes rolling back to reveal whites veined with red. The 6th generation bursts forth in chaos. Births are marred by omens, twins conjoined at the hip, separated with a rusty blade amid wails, a child with no eyes navigating by echo and touch. Isolation intensifies as the family seals paths with felled trees, turning the hollow into a fortress. Food scarcens, they turn to foraging deeper, unearthing roots that induce hallucinations, visions of ancestors, deformed and accusatory, demanding purity. Chilling moments abound. One winter night, the family gathers around a fire that refuses to warm. Shadows dance unnaturally, forming shapes of long, dead kin. Caleb touches the flames, his blue hand unburnt, and sees the future, the seventh generation, a child born perfect, breaking the curse or dooming them all. Isaiah, paranoid, accuses Caleb of witchcraft, chaining him to a post. Rats gnaw at his bonds, their eyes reflecting the moon's cold gaze. Mysterious elements weave in. Strange lights flicker on the cliff's willow, the wisps or signals from other isolated clans. Rumors filter through rare traders. Similar families in Kentucky, the Fugates, their blue skin a mirror to the Whitakers. Perhaps intermarriage could dilute the curse, but Isaiah forbids it, his rule iron-fisted. Eliza, pregnant with Harlan's child, births a hybrid skin mottled blue and pale, eyes burning with otherworldly fire. The infant's cry summons storms, flooding the hollow, washing away graves to reveal bones twisted beyond recognition. Tension builds to a crescendo. The family fractures. Some follow Caleb's visions of redemption, others Isaiah's path of deeper isolation. Hauntings escalate, doors slam in windless nights, whispers name sins long buried. One girl, with a cleft palate that twists her words into gargles, speaks prophecies. 7 generations, blood to blood, the land claims its due. As the 7th generation approaches, the narrative hurtles toward climax. Isaiah's reign crumbles when Caleb escapes, leading a faction out. But the land rebels' landslides block exits, vines ensnare feet. In a final confrontation under Eclipse's shadow, Isaiah and Caleb clash. Fists fly, deformities weaponized Isaiah's strength against Caleb's agility. Blood spills, mingling with rain, and a vision appears, Elijah and Abigail, spectral, judging their descendants. The child of the 7th, born to Eliza amid the fray, emerges. Perfect in form, skin unmarred, eyes clear, but as it draws breath, the hollow quakes, cliffs crumbling like ancient curses lifting or fulfilling. Survivors scatter, but the deformities linger in their blood, seeding new legends. Listener, the air grows heavier, the chill deeper. This narrative isn't over. It echoes in the real world, where isolation still breeds horrors. Now, let us step back from the narrative's grip, though its chill lingers like frost on glass. In this section, we delve into the historical and cultural bedrock that underpins our tale, the real deformed families of America. Their isolation a cauldron for legends that blur fact and folklore. Feel the weight of history pressing down, eerie in its authenticity, as if the past itself whispers through cracked tombs. America's frontier was a forge of isolation. Post-revolution, waves of settlers, Scots, Irish, Germans, escaped slaves poured into Appalachia, a rugged spine stretching from New York to Alabama. These mountains, ancient and eroded, hid valleys inaccessible by road, where communities formed in vacuum. Inbreeding wasn't choice, but circumstance, limited partners, cultural taboos against outsiders, economic poverty trapping families in place. Genetic disorders flourished, recessive traits amplified through consanguineous marriages. Take the Blue Fugates, a real clan from Troublesome Creek, Kentucky. In the 1820s, Martin Fugate, a French orphan with methemoglobinemia, a condition reducing blood's oxygen, carrying capacity, married Elizabeth Smith, carrier of the same gene. Their children glowed blue, skins like bruised plums under sun. Isolated by ridges and suspicion, they intermarried, spreading the trait across generations. Locals called them blue people, whispering of curses from Native American spirits or alchemical experiments. Fact: the condition is treatable with methylene blue today, but then it marked them as otherworldly. Folklore bloomed. Tales of blue ghosts haunting creeks, their wails echoing lost loves. Similarly, the Melungeons of Hancock County, Tennessee, a tri-racial isolate of European, African, and Native descent. From the 1700s, they hid in ridges, their olive skin, dark hair, and occasional anomalies like 6 fingers branding them Portuguese adventurers or lost tribe of Israel. Persecution drove isolation, laws barred them from voting, owning land, deformities. Not as pronounced, but legends speak of shovel teeth and congenital anomalies from inbreeding. Cultural tales weave them with Atlantis survivors or Moorish pirates, eerie authenticity in their secrecy. Deeper in history, the Whittaker family draws from real counterparts like the wild men of the mountains. Feral families reported in 19th century newspapers. In 1890s Virginia, the degenerate clan of the Blue Ridge made headlines, multi-generational inbreeding leading to idiocy, dwarfism, albinism. Reporters described huts reeking of decay, children with enlarged heads scampering like animals. These were the eugenics era's bogeymen, fueling movements to sterilize the unfit. But folklore twisted facts, stories of cannibalism, pacts with devils, bodies buried in shallow graves that rose at night. Cultural context amplifies the eeriness. Appalachia birthed haint tales, ghost stories where deformed kin return as specters. Cherokee legends of Uktena, serpentine monsters twisting bodies, parallel genetic curses. European immigrants brought grim, like folklore changelings, babies swapped with deformed fae. Blend this with slavery's shadows, escaped slaves forming maroon communities, their isolation breeding unique traits, legends of voodoo curses, deforming descendants, 7 generations, biblical resonance from Exodus, sins visited upon children to the 7th. In American culture, it echoes manifest destiny's dark side, conquest displacing natives, cursing intruders with land's vengeance. Real events Hatfield-McCoy feud, where isolation fueled vendettas, deformities from stress and poor nutrition mythologized as feud curses. Educational yet unsettling genetics explains much. Recessive disorders like cystic fibrosis, Tay-Sachs thrive in isolates, but folklore adds layers, evil eye, causing clubfeet, witch marks, as birth defects. In the 20th century, outsiders discovered these families. Photographers like Doris Ullman captured gaunt faces, evoking Gothic horror. Government interventions, New Deal roads, piercing isolation brought clashes, families fleeing deeper, legends persisting. Imagine the atmosphere, foggy hollows where banjos twang mournfully, ballads like Pretty Polly, echoing murders born of isolation. Cultural trauma, poverty, opioid crises today mirror historical seclusion. Deformities from environmental toxins, second coal mining blending with genetic ones. This context isn't dry fact, it's a tapestry of unease, where history haunts like a deformed ancestor peering from the mirror. As the mist of history clears, we plunge into the abyss of meaning. Here, in this analytical depths, we dissect the symbolic sinews of our tale, probing how isolation's legacy connects to universal fears, cultural wounds, and the shadowy recesses of human nature. Maintain composure, listener. This exploration is ominous, an intellectual autopsy on the corpse of normalcy. Symbolically, deformities represent the grotesque mirror of society. The Whittakers' twisted limbs echo existential distortion, how isolation warps the self. In psychology, this ties to authoring. The deformed as scapegoats for collective anxieties. Freud might see inbreeding as repressed incestuous desires manifesting physically, Ide's rebellion against superego. Jungian archetypes abound, the shadow self, embodied in blue skin, symbolizing hidden aspects society shuns. Universal fears. Isolation terrifies because it strips the social mask, revealing the beast within. In our story, 7 generations symbolize cyclical trauma, generational curses like addiction or abuse, deforming psyches across time. Connect to cultural trauma, America's original sin of colonialism, displacing natives, cursing settlers with guilt's deformities. The mountains as womb-tum, nurturing yet suffocating, birthing monsters from inbreeding's echo chamber. Human nature's dark side shines through. Survival instincts drive isolation, but evolution punishes genetic stagnation, deformities as nature's rebuke. Thematically, this explores belonging, the deformed families as vires them, fortress, mirroring xenophobia. In modern lens, think social media bubbles, ideological isolation deforming discourse into echo chambers of hate. Ominous tone, these themes haunt because they're real. Eugenics movement sterilized thousands, deeming deformities threats. Today, CRISPR gene editing promises perfection, but at what cost? Erasing deformities erases diversity, a slippery slope to uniformity's nightmare. Psychologically, the story taps agoraphobia's inverse, claustrophobia of the soul. Hauntings symbolize guilt's ghosts, deformities externalized shame. Connect to Lovecraftian horror of the fear of degeneration, bloodlines tainted by ancient evils. Intellectually, this narrative warns of isolation's perils in a connected world. Pandemics force seclusion, breeding mental deformities like anxiety. Cultural parallels, Japanese hikikomori, shut-ins deforming socially or Amish communities, where genetic disorders from endogamy echo our tale. Thematically, it's a meditation on legacy. What do we pass on? Blood, curses, or redemption? The perfect seventh child symbolizes hope or hubris, as perfection invites new horrors. This exploration leaves you unsettled, questioning your own isolation in the night. As our journey through the throne of nightmares draws to its shadowed close, the echoes of the Whittaker legacy reverberate like distant thunder. We've traversed hollows of horror, where isolation sculpted flesh into nightmares, spanning 7 generations of cursed blood. The blues, the twisted, the vanished, they linger, not just in tales, but in the quiet corners of your mind, whispering, "Are you truly alone?" Summarize the chill. From Elijah's flight to the seventh child's cry, this is a saga of survival's price. Deformities weren't mere accidents. They were the land's retribution, society's mirror, humanity's shadow. The atmosphere clings, the scent of damp earth, the taste of fear, the sight of twisted silhouettes against the moon. Yet, a lingering question haunts in our modern world of connectivity. Have we escaped isolation's grasp, or merely digitized it? Families still vanish into digital hollows, bloodlines deform through neglect or excess. Perhaps the Whittakers walk among us, their traits hidden, waiting for the seventh turn. Leave haunted, dear listener. The throne awaits your return. But for now, listen to the wind, it carries their wails.